Wow.
And we had to keep the motivation levels of all my employees and at the same time try to deliver the project because the customer shouldn't feel that he has taken a wrong decision in selecting us. But I eventually ended up staying there for 2 years uh, because the customer also wanted me to play a dual role apart from project manager also as a consulting role would like to have. I mean, I had always fostered a culture among my team members which does not believe in hierarchy. All my team members, me and my leadership teams, they are approachable.
Hello and welcome to another episode of FaceTime with Leaders. I'm your host, Priya George, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today for an exciting conversation with a truly exceptional leader. Today's guest is Mr. Srinivasa Rao Kunchala, a seasoned leader with 29 years of experience in global delivery, ERP systems, and business management. He currently leads the ERP delivery and transformation unit at Birlasoft, overseeing nearly 4,000 professionals and a significant portion of the company's revenue. With expertise spanning industries like manufacturing, life sciences, energy, and finance, Mr. Kunchala's leadership philosophy, which is leadership with empathy, has earned him recognition for creating high performing teams with low attrition and top employee satisfaction scores. His efforts in driving revenue growth and nurturing strong client relationships across global regions make him a true role model. Today, he's here to share his insights on leadership and business transformation. Mr. Kunchala, it's a true honor to have you here with us today. Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, sir.
Thank you, Priya. That's a pretty wonderful introduction. I'm really thankful for giving me this opportunity to be part of this good podcast. I know there are quite a few diverse leaders were part of this earlier. So,
Yes,
looking forward to this. Thank you.
absolutely. So, without further ado, let's get straight to it. Mr. Kunchala, your career is truly remarkable, spanning over 29 years of global leadership across diverse industries. But every leader's journey has its own unique story. Could you take us back to the beginning of your career and walk us through your professional journey? Were there any pivotal moments, challenges, or lessons, or even mentors that have shaped your leadership philosophy over the years?
Well, I certainly did have an interesting career, I would say, if not the best, spanning my last 29 years. Um, After my engineering, I did my MBA from a premier B school, which was one of the top 10 in India at the time, Bachelor's in Stock Management, Trichy. IT was not as popular then, and then it was
Right,
still catching up. So, and on my campus hiring, I probably had 2.5 times higher salary than what a TCS would have offered at those days. So
right.
that's I joined a large cement organization, and
Okay.
that was the first time that they were actually hiring from these schools. So what happened
Oh,
was after my training, I was posted as a senior ASM,
mm,
and suddenly at the age of 25, I had people with 35 to 40 years of age reporting into me. So my first lesson, a corporate lesson was there, wherein I always was having my learner's hat on and used to tell them that I'm definitely here to learn from them. And I used to value their experience.
mm,
If you're surrounded by seniors who are pretty much older to you, even if they're your subordinates, value their experience and maintain a low profile, you will definitely get the acceptance. That's the
mm,
first learning I had. Then I obviously was pretty successful in that particular organization. And then I joined another MNC glass company, and my second lesson there was that it's not enough if you do your work diligently and expect people to take notice of it.
right,
You
right,
also need to manage your perceptions. That's very
right.
important. And you also need to have the mindshare of your next level of boss. I mean, not your immediate boss, also one level above him. Today, we call this as a skip level meetings and all, which is pretty much structured, but was not there back then in those days. So,
Right.
this is obviously my second important lesson.
Right.
And I worked for about 7.5 years across in the domain companies and then moved to the IT industry just to jump the bandwagon, like how in those days most of the guys would take up lunch. Because by that
Mm.
time, IT has actually cherished and then it was like the go to industry then. So
Mm.
I took an ERP route. Well, I got myself trained into an ERP. It's called JD Edwards, and it's one of the tier
Okay.
one ERP practice ERP software, along with SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft, BAN, and all that. So when I joined an organization, I was a consultant. I was immediately selected for an important project in Japan. So
Mm.
this is where my third and important lesson comes in. There,
Mm.
I was in a meeting with my the customers, and they have asked a question, a problem in front of me, and I'd immediately answered given my approach. And I knew that was the correct approach, and I was expecting actually to score some brownie points. But to my
Okay.
shock, they told my boss later, said that I am not suitable for the role, and they
Wow.
wanted my replacement. Okay,
Okay.
so imagine, because from their perspective, it was like I was not giving thought to what they're asking, their problem, and I was jumping
Correct.
to conclusion. So in this situation, generally any manager they would be in the eager of pleasing the customer would have yielded, but my boss
Mm.
did not at that time, and he put his foot down and he said that it is too early to make a judgment, and that we need to hang on for some more time. So imagine if, like any other typical manager, if he had yielded, I would have been branded a failure, and that would have had a
Correct.
devastating, you know,
Mm.
impact on my career going forward. So I did, and obviously I was pretty successful there. I was their go-to person in that particular organization. I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I moved to Europe also. That was a paradigm
Mm.
shift in terms of the work culture between Japan and Europe and all that. Then my next lesson, I can also talk about an interesting experience. We all talk about the
Yes.
Satyam crisis. In fact, it's one of the case studies
Yes.
that we have in our independent directors curriculum. I
Okay.
have lived that crisis. Okay, so I was working for Satyam, obviously, and
Yes.
then
Yes.
it's a different organization. And after a long bid, and we won a particular project. It was in Canada. I flew to Canada on December 15, 2008, and January 9, 2009 was when the Mr. Raju's saga happened.
Yeah.
So imagine I had a team there. We were not sure if we would get our salaries also. We are just starting a program,
Wow.
and we had to keep the motivation levels of all my employees and at the same time try to deliver the project, because the customer shouldn't feel that he has taken a wrong decision in selecting us. Okay.
Mm.
At that time, what had also happened was that another competition, I mean, of another Indian IT services company, I'm not going to take the name,
Mm.
approached us. In fact, they were neck and neck with us. I mean, in bidding
Okay.
that particular proposal. So he has approached me, asked me to join them along with the team, along with the project.
Right.
But I did not, and I felt it was not ethical and professional on my part to, reach my company, which was in crisis at that time.
Right.
So I stayed back, and eventually, I was actually supposed to be there for 3 months just to set up the program and then move. But I eventually
Mm.
ended up staying there for 2 years because the customer also wanted me to play a dual role apart from project manager, also as a consulting role, so that I'm a billable as well. Uh,
Mm.
so that was a very important experience that I really did face. That's an important one. And
Mm.
so after that, I had also eventually joined the organization where I told about the Japan experience. I rejoined that organization this time as the head of the same unit. And after a couple of more mergers and elevated roles, I'm now uh, heading that HPU, as the delivery head and
Mm.
the
Mm.
transformation part of it. So overseeing 4,000 FT and almost around 35% of the company's revenue. So I would say this has been pretty much at a high level my experience, and probably I can take as other questions come in. Otherwise, I'll continue to
Absolutely.
talk on.
No, Mr. Kunchala, in your response, when you said that you were, uh, you were freshly hired, like a fresh graduate from B school, and there were people who were senior to you in maybe age and experience, and you said two things that really, stuck with me. One was value the experience of your seniors. The other thing you said was keep a low profile. Could you elaborate a little bit on the low profile? Like at what stage in your career, like say if this is year one of your career, at what stage in your career do you emerge from the low profile? I'm just trying to understand. Like if you could elaborate on it a little more. Yeah.
See, I'll tell you one thing. This is a very
Yes.
interesting question that you have asked. I would say that one needs to maintain a low profile throughout, unless the situation demands. There's sometimes you definitely need to bring in your authoritative, and
Correct.
that should be the last resort, because you would
Hmm.
want people to understand and reason with what you're trying to do.
Correct.
In the situation of that, what I've spoken about, they were 10 to 15 years older than me. I mean, definitely on there,
Hmm.
they would be thinking, that this is a small kid, what is he going to tell us and all that, right? So you cannot be hurting their egos. You have to satisfy
Correct.
their egos,
Hmm.
absolutely. And at the same time, you have to be firm and when it is relates to certain important decisions.
Makes
Similarly,
sense.
I can probably, now that you have asked this, I can also tell you one more thing.
Yes.
And as part of my, when I was handling, you will be interacting with a lot of enabling functions, like people from HR function, people from the people who would be doing your invoicing and other things. So
Hmm.
they might not be reporting directly to you, but they'll definitely be working for you in your organization.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes what happens is people would like to show their authority with
Correct.
folks. It is not going to yield, even if you are right. Okay, and if you even if you have an opportunity to score over them, my suggestion would be not to do that. And there's no point in escalating simply to their bosses just for the sake of it.
Correct.
Because what would happen is today they're at fault, they may be lying low, but they would be for the rest of their life waiting for an opportunity to score over you.
Correct.
The
Makes
atmosphere is
sense.
never good between you two. You need to work together. So I would say
Absolutely.
that's my important, because what has happened is in my experience I've seen people, if I ask them, they would work any part of the time, even at midnight they would get up and then again open their laptop and work for me. But for my other folks, if they ask, they would tell them that this is not their time and all that. I've seen this in my personal experience, because it all
Hmm.
boils down to how you conduct yourself with them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. Thank you. Thank you for that response. And your journey speaks to not just professional excellence, but also a deep commitment to
Mm.
nurturing teams and driving growth with empathy. So thank you for your response. Mr. Kunchala, your leadership overseeing 400 projects across 200 customers globally is really impressive. Managing seamless delivery across multiple time zones must demand exceptional coordination and strategic clarity. I'm curious, what frameworks or systems have you put in place to make all of this work so smoothly? And beyond the processes, how do you balance such a vast operation with your empathetic leadership style?
Okay, it's an interesting question. See, once you start playing a leadership role,
Hmm.
it all boils down to the art of delegation and the second in line leadership that you have developed to manage all
Hmm.
these programs. You cannot be expected to be present everywhere. Okay, so the way how we have done, I will take an example of one of the
Yes.
units that I had managed, JD practice. I had around 6 to 7 delivery managers.
Hmm.
All the programs eventually would be rolling up to them, to these
Hmm.
6 and 11 minutes. The most important thing is I used to have one daily huddle for 30 minutes every day religiously. It was
Hmm.
so religious that even if my boss calls me during that call, I would tell him or her, that I would call back later. I would take this very
Hmm.
religious, this particular 30 minutes of huddle. So we used to discuss very briefly about the issues and any quick burning requirements and then sort them out among all those people then and there itself. Most of the time, we would get the solutions there. And if there are any issues that would need a larger attention, that we probably would be having a detailed discussion later. So this 30 minutes of a daily huddle, it's very important when you're talking to all your
Right.
connection line. The second thing is I used to have a weekly report, weekly review for about an hour with all my enabling functions. As I mentioned earlier, your RMG, which is your resource management group, your hiring teams group, and your business HR functions, and your operations team, along with my all my delivery managers and their second in line as well. So in that one hour, we would be discussing all the aspects, and they would all give you a quick updates about what's happening in the area and all that. So
Mm.
every week you were having a one round of complete 360 degrees feedbacks and sessions on this.
Mm.
Now then, monthly we used to have monthly reports which are actually hosted by what we call as a business excellence team, which is basically the quality assurance team in other organizations. So they would host for all the key programs, and then they would be reporting to me about what's happening in those, along with the respective project managers and the DMs.
Mm.
Now, this is from the internal governance perspective. Now,
Right.
from the external, the interaction with the customers and the client organizations, there the key is to decide on which one really needs your larger attention and which one can be done an oversight with a minimum oversight. So some projects I would be just attending the quarterly business reviews. Some programs I would be probably be even attending a weekly review along with the customers, along with
Right.
the delivery managers, and probably with the sponsors who could be the CXOs. So the key
Mm.
lies in determining which battles to choose. Okay,
Correct.
and see, because this is a global role, right? I have customers right from Australia to US, Canada, and Latin as well. So the complete all the time zones customers are there. Sometimes you could have
Mm.
escalation from any part of the world. So you
Mm.
will have to be bracing yourself for this, and it is important to choose your battles. So that's the way it is. The key is you are not expected to be present everywhere. That's important. Once you realize this,
Correct.
it will be good.
Right. And that's such practical, simple advice, I think. Pick and choose your battles.
Yeah.
It's clear that your ability to blend structured frameworks with genuine leadership has been a cornerstone of your success. Mr. Kunchala, your leadership journey, guided by principles like quick decision making and
Mm.
diving deep, has clearly played a pivotal role in your success. Being recognized as a role model within your organization speaks to your impactful leadership style. I'm curious to know how these guiding principles have shaped your leadership approach over the years. And beyond that, what core values do you believe have been most essential in building trust and a rapport with your team?
Okay. Again, very interesting question. Fine. See, the most important thing where I would like to have, I mean, I had always fostered a culture among my team members which does not
Mm.
believe in hierarchy. All my team
Mm.
members, me and my leadership teams, they are approachable, and that's the impression that my teams also have. That people can just walk into my cabin anytime. Of course,
Mm.
if they're not in the meeting. And the other thing is, I have given the freedom to everyone that they can even call me anytime. And even if I don't pick up the phone, I would always call back. I would always call back. Okay, that's an important thing I would do. So, over a period of time, all the employees develop a trust with you that,
Mm.
one, you're approachable, and then they can trust on you that you would be definitely resolving things. Now, even during the appraisals and all, I would involve all my DMs, take their feedbacks, increments, right from increments, appraisals, everything. So it was always like that, so that everyone feels that they have the skin in the game.
Mm.
Talking about this, I can tell you one more thing. So today, the because of the consent with which we are all working, the roles and the definitions of leaderships are also changing. Now, take an example. For I'm just giving an example of a promotion aspect.
Okay.
Within a particular grade or structure, if there are 100 eligible people who are eligible for promotion, and all you have is only 10 slots. I mean, whatever
Hmm.
the HR teams or whatever they want to call, they don't want us to say the quota or bell curve and all this. Forget the jargons. End of the day, it all boils down to your budgets, limited budgets, and how many you have, the slots are vertical. Assuming I just have 10.
Hmm.
Now, a good leader is not the one who will get these 10 slots and promote for those candidates. A good leader is the one who will still continue to ensure that the remaining 90 people continue to
Hmm.
work with the same enthusiasm that they were doing earlier. That
Hmm.
is a critical thing where our
Right.
organizations are completely people oriented. In the IT organization, it is just
Hmm.
people based organization. So,
True.
how do you do that? You will have to communicate pretty well with transparency and let them understand
Hmm.
the constraints and give them assurance whatever you can in terms of how you will actually bridge that gap, going forward. This
Correct.
it will only come with the trust that you believe when you develop over a period of time. Definitely, there will still be some people who would be leaving, but still you will be in a position to manage and reduce your attrition much higher.
Hmm.
And I will take one more example. Now
Sure.
I was talking about the motivation. It's an interesting one. I'm sure it will be helpful to others as well.
Sure.
Once one of
Sure.
my colleagues, came to me and asked me that he needed my help in hiring one senior program manager. What he said
Hmm.
was he's convinced with him, but he is bargaining a lot, and that he's not within our budget. Okay,
Okay.
he wanted me to help hiring him. So I looked at the profile and I told him, okay, let's call him for this next round of interview, and I tell him this is the final round.
Hmm.
So when I went to the interview, I mean, in any negotiation, remember one thing: when the first step is you have to try to put your opponent in a defensive, and second, never open your cards first. Okay, so
Okay.
what I did was, in order to put him in a defensive, I have asked him very tough questions in the subject matter. I know they are going to be tough, and
Okay.
he became defensive. Okay, because he was
Hmm.
kind of assured he knew that he's got it, but he became defensive. Number one. Number two, then I started asking about whatever offer he had, I mean, about his family, kids, and all that. So,
Hmm.
as part of that interaction, I realized that what was actually bothering him was that his offer was in a different city, and he wants to continue to live in the same city. So that is what I used to bargain with him. I said, okay, see, I will give you an offer in this very city. You can continue to work here itself, but this is our budget. Just imagine, for the sake of 1 or 2 lakhs of rupees, you don't need to compromise
Correct.
on going back to your family every day. That's priceless, right?
Absolutely.
So that is how I nailed it.
Hmm.
What is important here is that the motivation points or aspects differ for each individual. You will have to identify what is it. For someone, it could be an on-site opportunity. For someone, it could be a good project. Someone, it could be a learning opportunity. Someone, it could be
Correct.
definitely only hike or salary. And for someone,
Hmm.
location and all these things. You, as a leader, have to identify what is it that can actually make the difference, and then play according to that. That is not easy, but definitely that's the way to go. Yeah, I
Right.
think I
Right.
rest.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, it's incredible to hear your, the suggestions, the advice that you're giving to uh, me and including all our audience members who are watching or listening. I think they're just very simple, practical pieces of advice that you would do when you're dealing with another human being. So, thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah.
your responses. And when we talk about leadership at your level, it's not just about the processes or numbers, like you mentioned earlier, but it's about fostering growth both for your business and for the people within it. So here's my next question, and I'm really keen to hear your insights. After all the success and operational excellence you've achieved, when it comes to continuous improvement, what do you believe are the core metrics that leaders should be focusing on, both for teams and for themselves?
Okay, I will say, see, in any organization, I mean, on this particular aspect of when talking about metrics, it will all boil down to one, delivery. You should have a good delivery, ensuring that all your programs are not in red, amber, or green. Next,
Hmm.
your operational metrics, your top line, bottom line, that is your revenue margins,
Correct.
and your cost per person, revenue per person, and your
Mm,
bench cost, and all this thing. Because I'm talking from an IT service organization perspective.
mm,
This is not a product management, product company. Okay.
right.
The third one is obviously, which is more important, is the people management. All how do you manage your
Mm,
people, and how are you infusing the juniors and freshers, and then what are the training aspects that you have to them, and how are you managing the attrition rates and all that.
mm,
Now, everything will boil down to these three. I'm not considering the sales aspect. That's a different one. Bringing in the business is
mm,
different. Once you have a business, how do you manage? That's a question I'm trying to
correct.
relate to, right? So here, and these three are like your triple constraints. I mean, if I were to give that, if one
Mm,
needs to be good, then the other is definitely not. I'll tell you an example why.
mm,
See, for example, in the pyramid ratio, pyramid ratio is
mm,
about talking about you will have more of your juniors, freshers in the bottom layer, and then a little number of the next layer, and then the layer. That will actually bring in a lot of cost optimization. But
mm,
there are some programs, but if this happens, some programs, your delivery will happen, right?
mm,
Because it's
mm,
going to be coming at a cost. So you may need senior people to deliver. Now, if you want to
mm,
improve your delivery and then bring in all the seniors, then your margins are going for a toss, which is the operational aspects. So
correct.
all these three are equally important. The key lies in deciding which one to give priority at what particular stage of it. For example, if it's a
Mm,
transformation program, don't look for pyramid. It's no brainer. You need seniors because only they can understand the requirements and then articulate it well and then come out with the solutions in transformation
right.
program. If it is a support program, obviously you can look for pyramid correction. You can have pump in more juniors and seniors and then manage that. One of the mistakes that people often do is, say, for example, if there is a large support engagement where you're taking a transition from an incumbent vendor. Today,
Mm,
this is most important that's happening. I mean, say a large program with about 150, 200 applications, you are taking over support,
mm,
and the size also could be around 200, 300 people. Most of these transitions are always hostile. The incumbent vendor is not interested in giving you everything that they have to you. So,
mm,
and the leaders of sometimes with these operations and the thing, they would still put pressure on the delivery teams to start managing the pyramid ratio right from day one itself. That's the biggest blunder. You cannot be having your pyramid ratio when you're taking transit. You need to have your seniors who can understand despite the hostile atmosphere, and then after a period of time, once you're slowly stabilizing, you can start improving your pyramid ratio. Never try to do that
makes
from day one.
sense.
I have seen this in a lot of
Mm,
organizations. In their eagerness to show better results and margins, it is going to result in a failure of the programs. So
correct.
that's a very thing. So I think these are the three things.
Right.
Everything is important. At the same time, you need to define, depending on what particular type of program and all, you need to take a call. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. As we look forward to the future, I'm curious, what are your aspirations moving forward? Are there specific goals or milestones you're aiming for in the coming years? And in terms of boardroom aspirations, how do you see yourself evolving in that space? What kind of impact do you hope to have as you step into these roles? And what does leadership at the board level look like to you?
Okay. Of course, this entire thing conversation is because of this. I mean, I definitely, yeah, looking forward for that. I mean, what I looked at it as, I thought probably that's an logical extension to what I'm doing at this point of time,
Hmm.
to trying to get into the board probably as an independent director. That's what we
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
done. Um, if I were to look at my capabilities today, I'm already running a P&L, and the size is large enough to be larger than a lot of the organizations that are already in public domain. So, which
Hmm.
means it's like an organization within itself. So, we have already
Hmm.
gone through all these aspects, and a board obviously has a very important responsibility of putting this year CEO and the organization the right track with their direction and governance. A couple of
Mm-hmm.
aspects which my observation is, so for example, today, unfortunately, CEOs are living by the quarter. There's a tremendous
Right.
pressure on them to show quarter-on-quarter growth. Otherwise, the
Okay.
market, the share prices are going to go down. There's a tremendous pressure, and in this process, what's happening is the long-term goals are often forgotten because they just want to live by the quarter. Otherwise, they are being challenged. So, as a responsible board, one also need to identify and understand where are we compromising on the long-term goals. That's important. Second thing is, even if you set up the targets have to be realistic. I mean, uh, well, your eventual target could be sacrosanct. Say, for example, just give an example. One wants to
Mm-hmm.
take a 20% growth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an organization probably has 3 to 4 business units or revenue streams which you have. Now, obviously, all these you have to give targets to these three revenue streams so that you eventually grow to that 20%. But
Right.
how are you going to give these targets? Sometimes you need to understand what is the kind of unit this is and how is the industry for that particular unit, and are the competitions also growing at that rate? Suppose if
Mm-hmm.
someone, by nature of the industry itself, if a particular industry is only going 2 to 3%, does it make sense to give them 20% target? Second, if you find that there's one unit which is pretty large, so obviously your larger unit needs to grow. That's the basic logic. If that but larger unit is not growing, is not operating in a high growth environment, you
Right.
cannot give a higher growth target to that environment. So these
Correct.
are the kind of areas that one needs to think. I'm sure everyone is intelligent enough to understand this, but then sometimes what happens is in our eagerness to just meet these numbers in the target setting and budget, uh, often these things are sometimes overlooked. And the
Correct.
other thing is, um, you can not just look at, say, for example, a Q4 numbers in one aspect, say, for example, the
Mm-hmm.
bench cost or the cost,
Mm-hmm.
and try to explore, extrapolate that to the next quarters of the next year.
Right.
Sometimes the Q4 results may not be a reflective of what actually can happen in an organization. That so all these things are
Mm-hmm.
important, and one needs to look into these areas. And I feel that definitely I can play a good role. I mean, if given an opportunity, and I'm sure I'm looking forward to it with the help of your esteemed organization.
That's fantastic, and it's inspiring to hear how you're planning to continue growing and making an impact. As a leader with such a broad perspective, how do you see ESG evolving within the companies you work with? How do you ensure that these principles are integrated into the company's strategy and very fabric? And what role do you believe leaders like yourself play in driving ESG initiatives forward, both for organizational success and for the broader community?
ESG today has become a buzzword, and we all know that.
Mm,
As you can
mm,
see, every board is obligated to give their ESG report. It is no longer just an annual report now, even every quarter they are giving it. So that means it has just become a part of our life now. And it is very important for organizations to give that importance to this. In fact, now when you ask about my current organization, so we have a very senior person, vice president level person who is actually the
right.
overall spoke for ESG. And there's a lot of activities that are happening. And there are great communications that are going on a regular basis to all of us to understand what is happening, what are our goals, and what are we doing. Like this SDGs, what we call, Sustainable
Yes,
Development Goals
sustain.
that the UN
Yes.
has come out with. There are
Yes.
17 SDGs.
17.
Yeah.
Yes.
So invariably, whatever work that we do, if we are able to contribute towards this 17, it has to be articulated and communicated well. That's one part of it.
Correct.
And every leader, every unit heads or something, they also need to understand if they are doing some work in their projects for their customers. If it is in a position helping towards the ESG, they have to be communicating this back to the ESG spots so that at an org level we are able to bring in and then increase our SDG goal scores.
Mm,
And Today, I'm seeing that every organization by default is coming out with this, and it's in the interest of everyone who is living on this planet. Every one of us have a
Mm.
skin in the game in this. So I think, yeah, that's it for the ESG.
Absolutely. And it's clear but that you see ESG not just as a responsibility, but a powerful driver for long-term growth and positive impact. And like you very rightly mentioned, it is not the responsibility of just institutions or organization, but it should be a part, it should be a culture of every individual's, I think, life journey as well. Absolutely. Mr. Kunchala, as we near the end of the interview, we know that you've recently joined Directors Institute, and it's always fascinating to hear from leaders who are committed to a lifelong learning and expanding their expertise and networks. How has your experience with the Institute been so far? What were the key aspects that motivated you to join?
Key aspects that motivated to me to join. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I mean, what actually sold to me was the way how your promotional video was able to articulate on the potential that it has got. Today, after Lehman Brothers and Satyam Saga in our country and others, there's a lot of emphasis on the corporate governance and the way it is to London. We need independent directors, and that there is also a rotation. So every 5 years, after 10 years, they have to be rotated. So all these things brought in what is the vast potential that we bring from the table, and
Mm.
for people like me, I mean, obviously that looked like a good logical career path, because once you have already played those global roles, now what else that you can do if you're part of this, if you're an independent director. And the other thing is the immense learning opportunity it brought. I mean, because see, at my age, it is equally important that I still continue to learn, right? And it has uh, motivated me a lot to now go back again, start preparing seriously and work for this. And so I was pretty happy on that learning path. And now coming to your institute, the way how you've structured that learning content, I liked it. Because all those chapter wise, and then the questions even after that, unless you're clear that you cannot move to the next chapter. So
Right.
all those sequence one, they're pretty nice. I mean, I definitely liked it. I mean, I have to be honest here. And the case studies, also the lot of case studies, and
Mm.
also some of the um, interviews you have given access to. I mean, those things are pretty good, and the
Right.
boardroom simulation
Right.
programs that you're conducting.
Right.
Um, so I'm still yet to complete all. I've done the
Correct.
independent director one from my ISCA, and then district director one. I've just started the ESG now, because obviously was not having enough time to dedicate here. I should. Okay, that's one. So yes, and with your help, I'm definitely looking forward to probably making a break into this path. The first one is all the stuff I know, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And it's inspiring to hear how the Directors Institute is helping shape your leadership journey, especially as you continue to strengthen your governance skills and network with fellow leaders. So, uh, as we wrap up another insightful episode of FaceTime with Leaders, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank Mr. Kunchala for sharing his wisdom, experiences, and leadership journey with us today. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversations. There are so many key takeaways, not just for our audience, me included. And thank you so much, Mr. Kunchala, for joining us on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you too. I mean, I know it's a great opportunity for me as well. Yeah.
But thank you once again. And to our wonderful audience, thank you for tuning in. Your curiosity and commitment to growth are what makes these conversations so impactful. I hope today's discussion sparked some fresh ideas and inspired you to continue pushing boundaries, whether in your own leadership journey or within your teams. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you can stay updated on our upcoming conversations with more incredible leaders such as Mr. Kunchala. And before we sign off, remember, leadership isn't just about strategy, it's about people, it's about values and the impact we create together. So stay tuned for more stories, more insights, and more inspiration right here on FaceTime with Leaders. Until next time, keep leading with empathy, stay true to your vision, and more importantly, never stop learning. This is your host, Priya George, signing off. Take care, and we'll see you soon.